Food, it's a great unifying factor.
We need to think much more holistically about what farm policy should be.
We need to put funding and support around addressing the ownership and the long-term stewardship of land if we are to have a just food system and if we are to address climate change.
Healthy soil practices, including animal agriculture, can be a climate change solution. And so when you're using good grazing management techniques, you can actually help improve soil health.
Why can't we grow more nutrition here in New Hampshire? Why is it like less than 8%? Why can't New Hampshire grow 25% of its nutrition? Why? I bet you it could, but it takes some leadership and some commitment at a policy level.
If every person in this room and everyone else in New Hampshire were to spend $5 a week buying food from some farm in the state, it would produce $349 million of income.
Each and every community can have a food hub, should have a place where the community can come together and talk to each other and start finding common ground on whatever the issue might be.
New England has a great diverse amount of groundfish species, more so than most regions here in the United States. We have a lot of edible fish that are just as good as our signature species cod, and what we're trying to do is provide a market for the underutilized species, and we're trying to get New Hampshire people to eat locally and eat with the ecosystem.
So here in New Hampshire, if we can be growing staple goods that we use on a regular basis, we should be. And then if we can't produce them locally, we can import them and internalize the full costs of that transportation and all the ecological and social costs to that trade in goods.
The overall goal of the program has always been to introduce refugee farmers to a farm program, generate income to support their family so they can be self-sufficient on their own, and also increase access of local grown food to a low-income community.
We're now spending $1.3 billion a year in the state of New Hampshire for the medical costs of diabetes, which is related strongly to the food we're eating, a lot of the imported food we're eating, and our failure to exercise, which is also related to not farming.
As a local farm and business, we spend thousands of dollars a week in the local community. We are an economy stimulator.
I think in the restaurant industry, food worker rights is something that really has been largely forgotten about. Abuse is rampant in the restaurant industry. Wages remain low and remain frozen in time. Food workers deserve our support. I think it's time for us to be resourceful on behalf of our employees in addition to our businesses.
Right now, we're in the middle of a transition of close to 400 million acres. And the reality is, we live in a country where 98% of farmland is owned by white people, 2% of farmland is owned by people of color. 70% of farm workers are people of color. An unjust system.
So I think this issue is front and center, and for me as a voter, healthy agricultural and food systems is going to determine who I support in the presidential elections.
There has to be a way to educate the public. There has to be multiple ways to educate the public.